Okay, guys, so for this shading example, first thing, and please, this is always, you don't have to erase the entire grid, but erase the grid that's going to be shaded over like as you work. Don't shade over grid lines. So all around where I'm going to shade now, I'm going to go ahead and erase the grid, which means I'm going to erase over some of my lines. If you're going to shade it pure black, like I'm going to shade this out here pure black, I don't really need to erase those grid lines. So I don't really need to erase these. I just need to erase the ones that are going to be shaded over. So, and you don't have to do all of it at once. If you want to do all the grid lines at once, that's fine. And you don't necessarily have to perfectly, completely, totally erase them unless it's going to be perfectly, totally white. If it's going to be shaded a little bit, they're probably going to be hidden, as long as you've kind of mostly erased them. Okay, so I'm doing the cat ear right now, and the cat ear goes from kind of like lighter around the outside edges, but hairy, short hairs, and then kind of like very long hairs, and then shadow, lighter, and then pure black. So I'm going to start with this like shadowy area here, and it's pretty smooth, so I'm going to try to keep it really smooth with round shading. I don't want this to look rough at all because this is this smooth, really, really short, soft hair that would be on the inside of here, on the inside of the ear. And I've kind of put an outline where I want to stop that shading. So I'm doing everything I can to try to keep the shading smooth, soft, going over it multiple times. Little circles help it stay smooth. Don't use a lot of pressure. And you do need to build up your shading. So to build it up, go different directions. But don't try to push really, really hard. I don't want black here. I don't want black. I just want dark gray. So build up your shading. Don't think it's like something that happens all at once. You have to kind of build it up in the darker areas. Now, this is long hair. To get these long hairs, I'm going to kind of like try to shade to leave the hair. So it's going to be dark lines, but I'm also going to try to leave white spaces in between. So very similar to what we did on that texture practice. Long lines, and I'm going to try to leave the white lines in between them to kind of indicate hairs. Starting down in here, it starts to get a lot lighter, so then I'm going to be more softer with my pencil strokes, not quite so much contrast. For the short hairs through here, right? Okay, so what I'm trying to show you is that as you shade, you're also going to try to show your texture. They happen at the same time. You don't really shade and add texture as separate steps because texture and shading are the same thing. Now, this is an ebony pencil. Ebony pencils are way darker than the 2Bs I give you. They're going to make black. Normally, we would just, if you are a remote student, you're not going to have one of these. And that's unless you want to go to Hobby Lobby and buy one. But these are pretty expensive pencils. We didn't buy one for everybody to have. This pencil can be just about as dark. It's just, it takes a lot longer to get there. If you are here at school and you want to use an ebony pencil, you just have to make sure that we clean them, sanitize them really good before you put them back. So you can do the same thing with this pencil. It just takes longer. You just have to keep pushing harder and going over it in the same location. And there was one other thing I wanted to kind of talk about today with shading, and that is using I want to put some different values on. Don't forget different values. Try to show as many values as you can. The more values you can show, the more interesting your shading is going to be. There's different values in this ear. It's not all just like gray and black and white. Okay, so also don't forget your eraser. Any kind of eraser can be a good shading tool. So down here in this area, this fur is really hard to shade but easy to erase. And I'll show you the technique for that. If something looks like it's kind of like just big blurs, light blurs, you can probably erase them easier than you can like draw them and shade them. So I've just kind of put some light lines here just to indicate where the shading kind of changes. But this is so blurry that there's not really any way to outline it. So I'm going to start by shading the dark area first. I'm going to be really dark, because it is really dark. And then as I get over here to this fur, I'm going to get lighter. I want to be able to erase this, but I'm still going to shade it all in. I'm going to shade it all the way in to about here. And I'm going to start getting lighter with it. Now remember, I should really make sure that all these boxes around here are fully erased before I start shading. Or at least erase them before you shade over them. You don't want to have to like erase a grid after you've shaded it. It's a lot of extra work that doesn't really help. Okay, so I've got black to represent this, and I got light gray to represent this area, and I got light. Now here's how I do my difference. This is fuzzy fur. I'm just going to erase in the fur. So my eraser can be a really good light drawing, like light shading and drawing tool. I just erase in what I want to be light and dark. Might put some different layers in there too. After I've erased some, add some more shading, erase a little bit more. To create that light furry look. Very out of focus. You might use that other places too. Anywhere you want to get light areas and get that look. You can use an eraser to get like that look of white lines too. I could even use an eraser to erase in these whiskers, but that's tricky. Well, actually, that worked out really well. You can see a white line right there. So the whiskers, you just have to make sure you have a clean, sharp edge to your eraser. If your eraser is dirty, it's not going to do that. So clean it really good, wipe, get on, just get to where you've used it, and then it'll erase in a nice white whisker line or whatever you're using. So Ebony pencil, extra dark. 2B pencil that we gave you, pretty dark. If you're doing something that's really dark and you're in class and you want it to be a little easier for you, ask me to borrow an Ebony pencil. That's it.